homes, we need to kind of reshape what we think success looks like, right? A lot of us say, okay, uzothola matric, you get matric, university, degree, job, life, hallelujah. But it's not looking that way anymore. You know, our Deputy Minister of Higher Education and Training said to us that, you know, you cannot get a bachelor pass. It doesn't guarantee you success in university, right? And when we look at the spots, there are 40,000 spaces in universities, our public universities. There are over 958,000 matriculants. The scales already are not scaling. Right? So it's important for us to kind of talk about, you know, what we view as success and post-matric and what education actually looks like. And we are joined in studio by Lindiwe Bucibo, who is an occupational development, education and training specialist with over 15 years of experience across industries, including finance, mining, manufacturing and leadership development. She's also an associate facilitator at Maccauvlei Learning Academy and a passionate advocate for outcome-based human-centered learning. Lindiwe, how are you, honey?
Hi, Ntsako. I'm good, and how are you?
I'm good. So, you know, I'm sure it's not uncommon in our community that the moment we know about a child's that they're doing matric, we immediately want to inundate them with questions like, okay, what are you going to do after matric?
Yes.
Which university are you going to go to? Making the assumption that they're going to do that. What's wrong with that question?
It's I think what I can say is wrong is because we are now applying a narrow-minded journey towards reaching a learning destination. And if we do that, unfortunately, we then tend to miss talents and strengths that our learners have. I'll say success is not, you know, narrow-minded. It is multidimensional. You look at, you know, people who strive academically, you look at people who strive in leadership, you look at people who strive entrepreneurially. So we cannot limit it to a particular framework. And in South Africa currently we're sitting with two pathways to achieve either a certificate or a qualification. There is a traditional pathway where you get your traditional universities, and there's also a non-traditional pathway. I'm talking about things like your public institutions, like your public universities. You can get a qualification or a certificate through, you know, your occupational certificates, vocational training, entrepreneurial experience, and public and skills development institutions like your Maccauvlei Learning Academy.
Yes.
And those, you have those choices. So when you say to a child, which university are you going to, you are now limiting them to one pathway, you know, instead of saying to a child, what would you like to be? What are your aspirations? Where do you see yourself 10 years from now? What are you passionate about? And you can be able to then advise accordingly and say to a child, you know, there's another pathway that can assist you. And you also look at the individual, the uniqueness of the child, the strength of the child, their weaknesses, because then you can choose a learning journey that can allow them to use their strengths to address their weaknesses, and you know, that will allow them to perform better in life and succeed.
But do you think the SETAs are doing well in relaying that message? Because I know that you know, the SETAs, it's a whole other world. And I think because I'm familiar with the business and the industry, and now they transition from doing accreditation from SETA to QCTO and knowing that whole process, like, for me, I feel like it's a sleeping dragon.
It might feel like it, but it isn't. Remember that SETAs are sector-based. So, and they support more the non-traditional pathway of learning. So what they do is they have learnerships, they have apprenticeships, there are various programs, they have bursaries as well, and they fund learners. And one thing I love about SETA is it gives the child a space in the classroom, a child who ordinarily, because of the system incapacities, you know, the educational system incapacity in South Africa, if they're limited in that manner, SETA can help. you just mentioned stats about, the matriculants and what the minister said. And there is, I recently read when Ntsako an article where, the Minister of Higher Education also said, only 525,000 of those 900,000 matriculants can only be accommodated.
Imagine.
Meaning, bulk of our learners cannot be accommodated, not because of failure, not because they are limited in terms of intelligence, but because of the capacity. And that's where the non-traditional pathway that I'm talking about comes into play. That's where these learners are accommodated, and that is why Maccauvlei Learning Academy is trying to create this awareness to say you don't have to feel as if there's no support. There are so many other ways of achieving a qualification or a certificate.
And perhaps maybe it's the way it came out, but I was actually rendering it a compliment by calling it a sleeping dragon.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm saying that is because we treat it like a backup plan.
Yeah.
And not the first plan.
Not the first plan.
I think I've never seen a sector invest in black businesses more than the CETAs.
The CETAs, yes.
Like when I think about, and even now when I think about the process of QCTO and getting accreditation, they've made it 10 times harder so that they're like, guys, you can't just sit with accreditation. You have to make sure that you are fulfilling what you're supposed to be doing,
True.
Yes. So for me, when I say it is a sleeping dragon, I'm saying that people are not aware of the fact that you can go to Maccauvlei Learning Academy and kickstart your future and get that artisan qualification, get that learnership that can kickstart your entire career. What are some of the things that you teach, some of the courses that you guys offer as well? And the reason I'm asking is because a lot of homes right now are confused, Lindiwe, and people are wondering, what is my child going to become?
Exactly. One thing nice about Maccauvlei Learning Academy is that we focus on occupationally directed training and development programs. So for a person that wants to, start an HR degree, a person that wants to be in management and leadership, a person that wants to be a person that wants to be in training and development, in learning and development, a person, it varies. We offer a broad spectrum of qualifications and soft skills, because when you look at this journey, you don't even have to look only at qualifications. You can accumulate skills programs, and then until you decide for those learners who are indecisive, who have not, actually, thought about what is it exactly that they want to do. But for those who know, then we do have qualifications for them.
And also, do you think we communicate with our young people that you don't also have to focus on one thing? I mean, think 10 years ago, right? It was 2016. I was in matric 10 years ago. So please, let's not do the maths, my love.
Please don't.
Let's not do the maths. But I was in matric 10 years ago, and you could not even, if I were to give you $1,000, you could not tell me I would be where I am right now, because when I left, I left matric with the mind of I'm going to do law, and then my results didn't come out as strong. And remember, I matriculated through the fees must fall time. So even university within itself was so uncertain. And do you think it's unfair for us to look too far into the future with our young people? Do you think we should kind of bring the goalpost a bit closer so that we can manage it? And how do you guys do that, especially with your courses as well? The nice thing about, look, guys, this is not like a paid ad by the CETAs. I think I'm just familiar with the system, and for me, I salute it. It's a well-run system. But do you think that we should bring the goalpost back, especially when you think about the courses we offer? Like, it's the 1 year, the 3 months, the 6 months. Do you think we should be thinking 10 years ahead, or even just 3 years ahead?
We should. And let me tell you, I love the non-traditional pathway which the CETAs advocate for, and which Maccauvlei is we are offering courses and qualifications and certificates in that pathway. That why I like it is because it's highly flexible. I mean, look at entry requirements. When you compare the traditional pathway and the non-traditional pathway, we are more flexible. We do accommodate a person who will say, I don't have good matric results, I do not have, or I battled in matric because there is an NQF level for qualification that a person can start with. You know, we look at experience, we look at recognizing prior learning. You know, so we are highly flexible in terms of entry requirements. Secondly, the learning styles. You know, we accommodate various learning styles. So it's an all-inclusive, human-centered approach towards learning, towards competence, towards making sure that, you know, that learner is going to be you know, who is going to be highly performing in future and be ready for the workplace. Even how we assess these learners, we are highly flexible. You know, we don't have just a one. You know, we are not only focused on exams. Assessment is continuous. Assessments, they are varied. You have, you know, ranging from formative assessments to summative assessments. Yes, there are certain qualifications that require for someone to sit and write an exam, you know, an external exam. You know, we assess using projects, portfolios. There's a range of assessments that, you know, that we focus on. The delivery as well, content delivery. We use various methods. And we are also flexible in that regard. You can either attend face-to-face in the classroom, you can attend virtually, you know, you choose timelines, your entry and exit timelines. It's vast. And it's one thing I love is it accommodates different life circumstances. It also accommodates those, you know, those economic realities that individuals may be faced with. You can take a break, come back, continue. Really? I think I love how we do things and how we accommodate, you know, every learner. It is inclusive. No one is excluded.
Lindiwe, you know what you're talking about. Let's take a quick break. It is 7:40 Central African time right here in the Oasis.
África. Conhece o Ntivani?
Claro que sou eu.
Ntivani é o amante da música de corpo e alma.
Eu amo música africana.
Ele aprecia todos os tipos de melodias e passa os seus dias a ouvir a Channel África. Okay. Adivinha só, a Channel África quer ajudar o Ntivani e os amantes da música em todo o lado a descobrir ainda mais música incrível. Por isso, a Channel África está a convocar artistas africanos a submeterem as suas músicas. Músicos, lembrem-se de nos dar todas as informações relevantes no music@channelafrica.co.za. As submissões são a vossa oportunidade de ser ouvidos, mas não garantem inclusão na lista. Todas as submissões serão cuidadosamente analisadas para verificar se cumprem os requisitos da nossa estação. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Ease into your weekend morning. It's the Oasis with Ntsako Mhlanga. Only on Channel Africa.
Just 18 minutes to go before we find out what's happening in the news at the top of the hour right here on the Oasis. We are speaking to Lindiwe Bucibo, who... we are speaking about education. She is an occupational development, education and training specialist with over 15 years of experience across the industries, be it finance, mining, manufacturing and leadership development. And she's an associate facilitator at Maccauvlei Learning Academy and a passionate advocate for outcome-based, human-centered learning. You know, there's something that hit my heart that you said now, and it's reminding me. So I have experience of both. I have the private, because I went to, because of the whole fees must fall, I went to a private institution, and then I also went to VITS at the same time, right? So I did a double major. Ma'am, I think that was probably the year where I went into depression when I like you watch this thing, you create a figure out of your depression and anxiety. When you said that we're able to take a break and actually treat it from a human perspective, I don't think that we do that in our public institutions. I don't think we create room for our young people. How do you guys do that at Maccauvlei?
We are not rigid. We have various intakes throughout the year.
Oh.
That's why I said you can choose your entry timelines. One thing nice is, you know, you don't have to be standing in queues in January for registration, you know. When you are ready, you come in, you register, we have an intake for you throughout the year. Ntsako, when I say throughout the year, come in December, we'll accommodate you.
Even
Come in
tomorrow,
June, you know.
son.
We'll accommodate you throughout the year. And even your assessments, they happen throughout the year.
Wow.
You know, we have different exit timelines for learners. If you couldn't make it for one of the study blocks, you can come again and join another study block. We are highly flexible, we are inclusive, we are accommodative, and you know, we are considerate of people's circumstances.
And I really enjoy it because life isn't linear. You know, there's some
Yes.
people right now who receive their matric results and are like, okay, let me go upgrade. But now if I upgrade, I won't be able to study this year. I have to wait until next year. So you guys existing kind of helps with that. I know that working with young people can pose as a challenge sometimes. I think the lives that we live, it's very different, and social media also plays a very big impact. What would you want more? And because I don't want us to speak about the obvious challenges, but what would you want more from our side as young people, as the people who are committing to, you know, an educational future?
I'll say invest in your own learning. And you know, when you started, Ntsako, you mentioned one thing. You said we are now using, you know, we are now focusing on the QCTO. We have, you know, we are transitioning from the legacy programs into the QCTO. That's how I knew, you know, what you're talking about, you know. And one thing I love about the new system is that it is quality oriented. You know that when a learner comes in, they will be honed holistically. You know, we call it a head, heart and hands approach. We are not only looking at empowering you with knowledge, we are looking at empowering you with knowledge. You know, we give you the skills, attitude and behavior. So we want that learner to take ownership of their learning journey. We want them to walk the journey with us. I mean, we are there to support. We are there to help. If a learning journey, if a learner has special needs, we accommodate them. And we, you know, there is no learner that we will not support. So as you start the journey, on your learning journey, you know, put time into your studies, study, prepare for your assessments, and believe me, you have a very nice, a beautiful journey. You know, it's not about the destination, it is about the journey with us.
So where can we find you guys? Where can we sign up? Where can we commit to this new way of learning?
I'd say you can contact Lindiwe Mhlanga at Maccauvlei. Her number is 011 439 3900. I repeat, 011 439 3900, or you can send an email to info@maccauvlei.co.za.
Absolutely fantastic. Loved this conversation. And I think I'm grateful because, you know, we've seen so many young people lose their lives. They do harmful things to themselves because they feel like it's the end. You know, so the fact that you're saying, guys, come as you are.
Yes.
And let's work through this. It really puts a lot of hope out there. So thank you so much for what you guys do.
Thank you for having me.
It's been absolutely fantastic. It's nice when you speak to people in similar industries. You're like, hey, we know what we're going through. We were just having a laugh off air saying, hey, QCTO. I'm telling you.
Processes.
Yeah, no, but I like it.
Yes, it's because they're focusing on the quality. And I always said, you know, the learners that will be exiting out of the QCTO stream, there'll be a powerhouse.
It's something else.
In that, there'll be subject matter experts. That's how I'm looking at it, and that's how I'm viewing it.
And it's so exciting that I think the stricter the process, the better. You know, especially because it is a public sector. So you immediately have this perception, with your public sector, they're not going to meet their end of the bar. But I'm really happy. That's the one department I'll vouch for. Until they really do meet their end of the bar. But thank you so much for joining us today. And please don't be a stranger. We want to hear the good stories. We want to hear the support structures that are out there, because it's a tough time in some homes. You know, there's sometimes people who pass very well but don't have the money. There's some people who have the money but didn't pass well. You know, life is not linear.
Circumstances are different.
1000%. Thank you so much, Sis Lindiwe, for your time today. It is a 7:48 Central African time, right here on the Oasis.
África. Conhece o Ntivani?
Claro que sou eu.
Ntivani é o amado